Well, things are going quite well on the MGA. I'm at the point in the process where I'm reassembling after paint. I'm thinking now that this is the time where I should get the floors in. But to do that, I need to first get the transmission tunnel in place before the floors go down. The floors on an MGA are made of wood, and in that long piece of plastic behind me there is a big sheet of plywood. In which case with which I'm going to make the floors. So let's get to it. If you check back on my previous videos, you'll see right at the very beginning I had the whole car sandblasted, with the body itself, it was sandblasted and then had a coat of zinc primer on it. This I have not done anything with, so since that process happened, and already you can see it's starting to rust again. But more importantly, it's full of holes. So, not in a great shape, not too dissimilar to the rest of the car. In fact, some of the bodywork was even much worse than this. Rotted up from the bottom, and a lot of it was missing. So I think what I'm going to do is use this as a template. I'll try and retain as much as I can. Yeah, clearly there's quite a lot of metal that's missing and very thin, that I'll need to make some panels, patch panels, to get this back to the state it should be in. This is how the inside of the car is looking now. Obviously this has all been completely refurbished. I've gotten the wiring in. The floors are, not the floors aren't in here obviously, but the bars that the floors sit on, the wooden floors sit on, have all been refurbished, repainted, sandblasted, powder coated. So although it's pretty dusty because it hasn't been touched for a while, it's all brand new. So I think the best thing to do is for me to get the transmission tunnel in and do a kind of a test fit, and it'll help me to then build the templates in order to make the new panels, patch panels, to fit up on the transmission tunnel itself. Well, if it was only as easy as clicking your fingers, that'd be great. So about 2 hours later, I've managed to get this in and bolted in. I think the issue I had was that the bulkhead at the end there is actually, that part, lower part, is a single piece of metal, and it's quite flexible, and I didn't realise that for some time. So I've ended up pushing the whole thing forward about only a centimetre, but that's enabled me to get a few locating bolts in. So now I can go ahead and start the process of making some templates that allow me to fit the transmission tunnel onto the flanges where the floorboards will sit. So the first piece I'm going to make a template for is here, this bit at the bottom. I can see here that there's a seam here down this edge. So I'm going to make a template that takes me down along the flange and then up that side and kind of cut it across here. I think that's where it'll work for that first place. That'll do it, I think. Okay, so I think that's close enough for me to cut that out sheet still, maybe slightly oversized. Yeah, we'll do that next, I think. Might as well make it straight across the top. So I've got a couple of folds I need to make in this piece, so it gives me an opportunity to break out my sheet metal folding tool that I made a few years ago, just with a couple of hinges and bracket just to pull up. It's okay, not great. Doesn't give a super sharp edge on it, but we'll see how we get on. I'll set it all up and do the fold. I'm going to cut. I know when I fold, I'll have to fold this piece as well, but I'll have to knock that back and then I've just cut that down as well, which I didn't show in the video. So I've made the slit for the return. So I'll just knock that back and then put that in just with a hammer and dolly or something, and then that piece will be done and we'll try it back in. Right, we're all set up, and let's just do it. It's almost, I think, a 90-degree fold, so that's quick. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. Great. Right, quick test fit. Yeah, that's going to do. Lovely, perfect. I think I'll cut down around here to give them a clearance around the bolt hole, and then it's a question of just marking out the old, ready to cut away the rot. Excellent. Well, I've taken it back out of the car now. I've welded this and I've just tacked it in the car, and I've fully welded up that side now. And now it sits quite firmly just on the lump of wood there. So now tackle this side, same process, but okay, I've got enough of the flange there to see exactly where, how it should sit. A little bit more extensive in terms of rot on this side as well, quite a lot. So I've got to decide, without kind of losing the structure as I kind of work on it, I've got to decide where I'm going to cut a panel in. I think I'll probably go along here and then probably up there and take in this up here as well as I go, but leave this flange on the end so I've got some sort of reference point. I think that's the way to go. Let's see what happens. So the template seems to have worked okay. I've folded up the flange at the bottom, and now I'm going to try and use this as a kind of a former to get this general shape. I don't expect it to go all the way over and be perfect, but it gets it started and helps me to work out exactly where the bend starts, so I can just form that on something else that's a little bit tighter off the workpiece. So it's all clamped on. I've clamped it on the flange, clamped here. Hopefully it's enough clamps. They always say there's never enough clamps, but let's give it a go and see if we can start to push it into shape. There you go, it's going. I put a longer piece of wood in there to stop it bulging out the bottom, so I keep that nice and straight. But just with a bit of work, it's coming round a bit, and it's just starting it off. There we go. It's a bit tight on there, but the top's going over all right. Okay, so I kind of started. Yeah. Now I'll see if I can find a tube or something that's a bit tighter, and just finish that off. I thought I'll probably draw a line along here so I know where the start of the bend goes. So I don't want to overdo it, and we'll see if we can get it just to sit nicely on top, and then I'll cut away what's behind. And well, there we go, nice fit. Used a bit of a bar, used a bar in the end just to help me to get that little bit of extra curve on there, and now that's fitting nice. So then it's the same process the other side. I'm just going to mark it out, cut it out, and weld it in. Good, be nice when that's done. All right, so I'm making not too bad progress now. Got a few patches that I put in and just knock those back, but this is an interesting feature. So I'll move that over there. So there's whoops, there we go. There's a slight relief on this edge here. So this is where the transmission tunnel cuts into one of the cross members on the chassis, and this rubber piece, I'm not sure which way around it goes, slots in there, and then just fits between that transmission cross member and the transmission tunnel, which is fine. I know exactly where that is. On this side, it's not there. So I need to make one. So what I've done is I've made myself a wooden buck. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So I've traced out the shape on a bit of paper. I've transferred it onto this bit of plywood. I've got another piece there as well, and I've just cut myself a piece of steel out. I'm going to just trace out and cut that's the centre there, sandwich those two bits together, and then see if I can form that lip. So that's the plan. Let's see how we get on. Okay, so that obviously will be the outer edge, and I need to leave enough material to be able to fold that in, and probably a little bit extra. So if I just cut out kind of, I'm thinking probably about that much. I mean, the more material you leave, the harder it is to just be able to fold it over. So I think that'll do. Okay, ooh, see how we got on. Okay. Ooh. Well, not too bad. Needs tidying up and obviously straightening the edge, but I think I've generally got the shape I wanted. A little bit of flattening out, and I think that will do. Okay, cleaned up, doesn't look too bad. Quite pleased with how that's turned out. The thing is, I don't know now where to position it. That's the thing, because there's such a massive grey hole of nothing there. So best thing to do, I think, is to put the whole transmission tunnel back in the car, bolt in, which will be good because I can make sure still that all these flanges at the front are in the right place, and mark them out to drill the holes for fixings as well at the same time. So I'm going to get that back in the car, line it up, mark it out, and weld it in. Well, it's all welded in now, nice and solid. Needs cleaning up. Got to finish off, clean up some of this other stuff, and I've got the odd piece here and there that needs to be replaced before I get it into paint. Well, boy, that's taken a lot of work. I didn't realise how much I'd have to cut out. If you look at the table there, all of that junk has come off the car. So off of the transmission tunnel. But there you go, all done now. That's as much as I'm going to do. I've dressed the welds all over as best I can. I've used a little bit of Evercoat Easy Sand as a filler, just to give them a reasonable finish. And let's face it, at the end of the day, this particular part, you're never going to see it. It's covered in carpet inside, and obviously underneath you won't see. But now I'm at a point where I think, well, I am ready to get it painted and get it on the car, move on to the next thing. So usual process. I've done this a number of times. If you're familiar with the channel, this is the stuff I use. Very good Novel epoxy primer for classic cars. Excellent coverage. So I'll run that first, and then I think I'm going to do like a wet on wet. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to use Raptor. So it's a truck bed liner. Definitely for the underside of the transmission tunnel, obviously where that's going to be outside. What I might do, I'm not quite sure, but what I might do is run that through the gun that comes with the Raptor, which gives a nice stippled finish and it's nice and thick. Or possibly I'll just use a bit of thinners and run it through a normal gun, and then I'll do both, because my friends on YouTube and Facebook tell me that that's like a satin black finish on the transmission tunnel, the same as the rest of the chassis. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got black paint there as the Raptor, so I may well just thin that down slightly, put it through a gun, and I'll try and do wet on wet both sides. This is actually a tintable Raptor, the one I've got at the moment. I've got another one coming in the post hopefully tomorrow, which is black, and if that turns up, we're going to get it sprayed. What I'm going to do now is just prep the room ready for painting tomorrow. Okay, one day later and a new haircut, and I'm ready to go. I've got the car absolutely covered, so there's no chance I'm going to get any paint on the nice and new shiny paint job that I did on it. I've set everything out. I've secured it, so the problem I always find is that things tend to blow around when you put the spray gun on, so I've kind of secured it as best I can to keep it as stable as possible. I've got myself some additional two-part epoxy primer just in case I run out, so I'm prepped. The Raptor has turned up, so I've got that as well. So the mixture on this is 3-to-1, and the new one is a 2-to-1 mixture, and then maybe I'll go through it later, but the Raptor's really straightforward to get your mixtures right. So that's all prepped as well. Next job is to get myself lint-free cloth and panel wipe. Going to go over the panels with that, and then come over in here. I've got a tack cloth as well, so I'll do that once I'm prepped, start mixing, get the paint on. So the Novell product laid on really nicely on the outside of this piece, but I had a lot less than I thought I would have. So I had to resort to the second. I'm glad I bought another tin of the other brand. The thing I didn't realise is that it was translucent in finish, which has quite surprised me. I thought it would be similar to the one I'd originally purchased, which in fact caused me to do a little bit overspray because I didn't think the gun was actually pouring the product out. So I put it on a little bit thick, but I think I got away with it. So now what I'm doing is the Raptor. So I've decanted the can into just a mixing jug there, and now I'm adding the hardener that goes with that. There's a line on the it's so easy to use on this little plastic cup that comes with the kit. And I'm adding it now, the hardener, back into the container it came in. In a minute I'll give it a good old shake and make sure I get all of the product out, because it's very, very thick, the Raptor. If you run it through the gun that they provide, you fix the gun onto that can, so you never have to decant it. But I like to do that anyway and make sure I give it a really good mix. So you get the activator, totally absorbed into the base paint, and you can see now it's pouring really easily, and all of the products, surprising how much more came out. Then I've added a little bit of extra thinners, and then I'm back on now, coating the thinned out Raptor over the entire piece, both inside and outside. So just before I wrap up, I've got a request for help. If there's anybody out there that has a rear surround for the windscreen on an MGA coupe, I'd be really grateful if I could get hold of it somehow. So I've tried all of the general retailers in the UK and in fact some abroad, and it just doesn't seem to be in stock at the moment, and I really want to now put the glass back in the car, and I need obviously the rubber seal to be able to do that. So if there is anybody out there, if you could help me out, just drop a comment and let me know, and I'll private message you. I'd be very, very grateful. Thanks for that. Anyway, back to the matter in hand. This is the finish I've managed to get on the tunnel. I'm quite pleased. This is what you can expect if you run Raptor through a conventional spray gun with about 15-20% of thinners in there as well. It gives you that kind of nice satin finish, and it'll be rock hard because it's a polyurethane finish. As I said, it's used for truck beds, so it's pretty solid stuff. In terms of learning, I've just got one big thing. I don't know, this is why people do it. You use a product that you know and you get familiar with, and it applies how you expect it to. Using this, I'll put it away now. Using the epoxy primer, the new one that I used, was a bit of surprise, and halfway or just into the spraying of that product, I was unfamiliar with it. The fact that it was kind of translucent, I didn't think it was actually spraying out the gun, and clearly it was. Fortunately, it was on the inside of this piece, so you're never going to see it, and I got a few little runs in there, so it's not a big issue. But just my advice is practice. If you can afford the paint, do a little practice before you start, just to avoid any mishaps. And if you've got a product you like, I would stick to it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like if you did, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you again. Cheers, bye bye.